The implications of this are frankly nothing short of historic. Over 100 documents that we released on Friday really detail and provide evidence of how this treasonous conspiracy was directed by President Obama just weeks before he was due to leave office.
The number one loser, you know who it is? Barack Obama. Do you know why? Because his voice doesn't carry weight anymore. He was out there begging, screaming, scolding, everything he did. He no longer carries that weight. Imagine Barack Obama, every day he goes to sleep, he remembers that one dinner that he's talking to Trump, saying you'll never be president, when he did the angry tweets and all this stuff on Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon, and he reads the Trump tweet at him, talking about him, he says, at least you'll never be a president, drops the mic.
He was hailed as a voice of hope, the cool talking savior who promised unity and transformation. Crowds worshiped the speeches. The media sold the myth, and the world bought into the brand. But Patrick Bet-David and Tulsi Gabbard aren't buying it. They ripped through the polished veneer to reveal what Barack Obama really left behind: foreign policy chaos, Wall Street loyalty, and a legacy built on image over substance. The illusion fades fast when the truth finally takes center stage.
Think you're Obama, okay? First go from the Obama's lens.
Okay.
Obamas are sitting there having to hear people compare Kamala to Obama.
Crazy.
Do you know what that does to Obama? Do you know Obama is sitting there saying, shut the that's what Obama's saying internally, right?
Director Gabbard, give me your response to what we heard from former President Obama there. He's saying that none of this makes any sense, that this is a distraction. What do you say to that?
It's the art of deflection coming from former President Obama, as well as his friends who are still in Congress today, and Senator Warner and Congressman Jim Himes, really all basically saying that exact same statement, which doesn't actually address the issue that was revealed in great detail in the over 100 documents that we released last week.
And if you're enjoying this video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Barack Obama has always carried himself like the man who walked into history's VIP lounge and never left. The cool suit, the smooth tone, the trademark pause between every third word, as if he were about to deliver the Sermon on the Mount rather than another hollow line about hope and change. For years, people treated him like the philosopher king of politics, a genius whose mere presence was supposed to cleanse Washington of its swampy filth. But when Patrick Bet-David and Tulsi Gabbard start peeling back the layers, the illusion shatters faster than Obama's NCAA bracket predictions.
And I wanted to show us the following. So you know how you talked about Jerome Powell, what an easy job. You come once a month and he said we're going to increase the rates.
Greatest job there is.
I think this is the one thing they don't talk about. So Barack Obama got elected November 4th. Okay, quantitative easing started November 26th.
Right.
And it stayed for 8 years until you got elected.
Right.
So if you look at that low, pretty much 0% interest rate.
Right.
And then you get elected, right? If you go to January 2016, Rob, for the audience to see that. And then from there, one by one, rates are going up. And then Biden comes in, goes back down to zero to try to save the economy. And then, the rest is obviously history.
Right.
But do you think the average person knows, like, the impact of going to zero?
The one thing I wanted to show is the following. You know how you talked about Jerome Powell? What an easy job. You come once a month and say, we're going to increase the rates. I think this is the one thing they don't talk about. So Barack Obama got elected November 4th. Okay? Quantitative easing started November 26th, right? And it stayed for 8 years until he got elected, right? So if you look at that low, pretty much 0% interest rate, right? And then you get elected, right? If you go to January 2016, Rob, for the audience to see that, then from there one by one, rates go up, and up. Then Biden comes in, drops it back to zero to try to save the economy. And then, the rest is obviously history. But do you think the average person knows the impact of going to 0%?
Tom, what is the process of Nobel Prize? If he's able to do that, who nominates? Because most of the Nobel winners are on the left.
Nobel Prizes, you can go look this up, are given through an arcane nomination process, and they go into a back room and they decide who they're going to give it to. And the Nobel Peace Prize is basically a political football. You look around the world at people that have really caused peace, and you have Obama made a couple speeches as soon as he was inaugurated in 2009. Oh my goodness, we give it to for fostering an environment.
Because behind the polish lies a man who sold himself as a messiah, but delivered like a mediocre salesman, trying to move a used Honda with a busted transmission. Patrick Bet-David calls him out as a brand, not a leader, a walking marketing campaign wrapped in soaring rhetoric. Obama wasn't a revolutionary. He was Apple's keynote speaker in human form. All glossy promises, but no real delivery once you open the box. He became the political iPhone launch. Long lines of believers waiting for hope, only to find the same old glitches, frozen screens, and broken chargers.
To try to impact the outcome of the U.S. election leading up to Election Day. The same assessment was made after Donald Trump was elected by the American people as president in 2016, defeating Hillary Clinton. And it wasn't until after that pulled President's Daily Brief document that the Principals Committee was called in the National Security Council, and President Obama then directed Obama's DNI James Clapper to lead the effort to create this new intelligence community assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow attempted to influence the outcome of the U.S.
Tulsi Gabbard takes it further. She reminds people that Obama didn't just sell empty slogans. He cloaks them with the most establishment-serving policies in progressive packaging. He campaigned on ending wars, then expanded drone strikes like he was running Amazon Prime for missiles. He claimed transparency, then presided over an administration that prosecuted more whistleblowers than any before him. Obama didn't dismantle the military-industrial complex. He gave a new coat of eco-friendly paint and told the world it was change you could believe in.
I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh my goodness. The words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express.
And we're going to have some fun.
You both.
Say it.
It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this,
That's
too.
right. So obviously, she's not a professional actor.
Capability to try to impact the outcome of the U.S. election leading up to Election Day. The same assessment was made after Donald Trump was elected by the American people as president in 2016, defeating Hillary Clinton. And it wasn't until after that pulled President's Daily Brief document that the Principal Committee was called in the National Security Council. President Obama then directed his ODNI, James Clapper, to lead the effort to create this new intelligence community assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow attempted to influence the outcome of the U.S. election.
After President Trump had already gotten elected. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue that is so serious it should concern every single American because it has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. What we saw occur here, as the documents we released detailed, was that we had a sitting president of the United States and his cabinet and leadership team, quite frankly, who were not happy with the fact that President Trump had won the election, that the American people had chosen Donald J. Trump to be the next president, commander-in-chief of the United States.
And the irony is he's still treated like a saint. This is the man who built his legacy on charisma while quietly bailing out Wall Street, leaving working-class Americans gasping for relief. Patrick Bet-David doesn't let that slide. He breaks down how Obama turned Yes We Can into Yes Goldman Can, propping up the very financial institutions that torpedoed the economy in 2008. Every day people lost their homes, their savings, their livelihoods, while Obama's donor list fattened like a Christmas turkey. Hope didn't trickle down. Bonuses did.
Evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact. The implications of this are far-reaching and have to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. It has to do with an outgoing president taking action to manufacture intelligence to undermine and usurp the will of the American people in that election and launch what would be a years-long coup against the incoming president of the United States.
Tulsi dismantles the myth of the anti-war Nobel Peace Prize winner. Remember that prize, handed to him like a participation trophy before he even warmed the chair in the Oval Office? What followed? Escalated conflicts, drone campaigns that made civilians collateral damage statistics, and a Middle East more unstable after has watched them before. She points out how Obama turned military intervention into a clinical, sanitized affair. Less boots on the ground, more remote-control warfare that made killing feel like a PowerPoint presentation. Patrick Bet-David slices through that by reminding everyone that a brand can sell, well, even if the product doesn't deliver. Obama was like the Netflix trailer that hooks you in with inspiring music, only for the actual show to be tedious filler episodes padded with broken promises. His legacy, when stripped of the sheen, is less Camelot and more cleverly packaged mediocrity.
An inconvenient truth. The president's Daily Brief article was pulled. It has never been published until we released it about a week and a half ago. Instead, this new intelligence assessment was ordered by President Obama that contradicted directly every other intelligence assessment that had been published prior to the election, as well as assessments that had been pushed forward after the election.
Tulsi also highlights how his influence paved the way for the divisive politics America swims in today. Obama claimed to unite, but his very strategy thrived on subtle division. He turned identity politics into a permanent fixture in Washington, ensuring that Americans would view each other less as neighbors and more as demographic boxes to be managed. Instead of healing divisions, he deepened them with a smile, convincing half the country they were enlightened while writing off the other half as backward relics of history. The irony? That self-righteous moral superiority gave rise to the backlash that made Donald Trump's presidency inevitable. Every move was about image. How he looked shooting hoops, how he sounded when he sang a line of Al Green, how his speeches trended online. But governance? That was always secondary. Obama was less commander-in-chief, more influencer-in-chief, forever curating a reel instead of fixing the feed.
And it was related to the fact that I had the audacity to go against them, to challenge the elite of the Democratic Party, which is Hillary Clinton, it's Barack Obama, and it's the people who surround them in the military-industrial complex, in the media-industrial complex, those who are pushing, and it's not limited to the Democratic Party.
Tulsi exposes how that obsession with appearance came at the expense of substance. Under Obama, America's foreign policy wasn't strategy. It was theater. The Libya intervention, sold as humanitarian protection, ended in chaos, slavery markets, and a destabilized region that became a playground for extremists. Syria spiraled under his half measures and red lines drawn in disappearing ink. He didn't bring stability. He brought confusion dressed as caution. His moves left the world less safe while his speeches kept people clapping like trained seals. Patrick Bet-David makes sure to shred the economic myth too. The gig economy exploded, wages stagnated, and corporate profits soared, while Main Street was left patching potholes in its driveway. Obama wasn't the savior of the working class. He was a PR guy for globalist boardrooms. He mastered the art of trickle-up economics, funneling taxpayer money upward while tossing crumbs downward.
Next topic here, which is Adam's top topic, talking about Obama saying every man needs a gay friend. So Obama goes
Barack,
on his wife's podcast, okay? And they're sitting there having this conversation, and it opens, they covered a lot of different things. Right off the bat, they talked about the divorce. Hey, aren't we supposed to be getting a divorce and all this stuff?
Tulsi digs into the hypocrisy of his progressive facade. Obama championed climate change awareness, yet under his administration, fracking boomed and fossil fuel production surged. He promised transparency, yet spied on journalists and surveilled citizens like a paranoid roommate. He claimed to empower the people, yet left them more dependent on an entrenched system that worked only for elites. His presidency was a masterclass in double standards, the kind where you preach morality while cashing checks from the very industries you pretend to restrain. Patrick Bet-David and Tulsi Gabbard laugh at the absurdity of a man who once rallied crowds with the imagery of grassroots struggle, now sipping wine with Silicon Valley oligarchs while signing production deals to control the narrative of his own history.
Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States! Exclamation point at real Donald Trump. Well, at real Donald Trump, at least I will go down as a president.
Obama has to eat his words for the rest of his life. It's gotta suck. The #1 loser of 2020.
Obama is less remembered for his policies than his performance. That's why Patrick ripped through the myth with surgical precision, because performance can be polished, rehearsed, and endlessly repackaged. But the results are undeniable. A country more divided, a world more unstable, a political culture more obsessed with branding than results. Strip away the speeches, and what's left? A politician who mastered the art of seduction but failed to test the substance. Patrick Bet-David dismantles a brand. Tulsi Gabbard exposes hypocrisy. Together, they show how Obama's so-called legacy is more smoke and mirrors in substance. The truth is ugly, but it's also liberating. And the harshest truth of all, Obama didn't just fail his supporters. He taught an entire generation that politics is theater, that speeches matter more than results, and that appearances outweigh accountability. That's his real legacy, and it's one Patrick Bet-David and Tulsi Gabbard shred until myth lies in tatters.
If this seems like they woke up together in the same bed this morning, the last week, the last month, the last 90 days, or if they live in two different places. Just watch this real quick. Go ahead, Rob.
Wait, you guys like each other?
Oh, yeah, really, huh?
That's
the rumor mill.
Yeah, slap that hand
It's my husband, y'all.
She took me back.
Under Obama, the Affordable Care Act became his defining domestic achievement. But even that looks flimsy once Patrick Bet-David and Tulsi Gabbard tear into it. The law was sold as a bold leap forward, but it quickly exposed itself as a labyrinth of bureaucratic confusion that still left millions uninsured, premiums skyrocketing, and small businesses suffocated under mandates they could barely afford. It was health reform designed to please insurance giants, not the everyday Americans who were promised relief. Obama strutted around as if he had reshaped the entire health system. But in reality, he delivered a clumsy compromise that functioned more like a government-subsidized advertisement for private insurance companies. Patrick reminds people that the so-called landmark achievement was less about reform and more about optics. The hypocrisy is glaring. The champion of the people leaving them with higher deductibles and fewer choices while bragging about his legacy.